Hello, truth seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, the reason that you're not able to anchor in the now, or the reason you're not able to trust the now, is because the root of the suffering hasn't been dealt, hasn't been investigated. When we neglect the root of the suffering, that means we're allowing our conditioning, our habits, our patterns to run wild. That means we make ourselves run with those. And because of that, we are not able to anchor in the now. Anchor in the now is about letting go of the conditioning, or not getting distracted by the conditioning. But we have a hard time not to get distracted by the conditioning, isn't it? We are always lured by our own conditioning. The conditioning pops up in our head as an idea. And we listen to the idea or we reject the idea. And after that, we're prolonging the narration of that idea. So the inner journey of making the story is still present. When the story is prolonged, we are already missing the now. When the story is prolonged, we're not trusting the now. Being in the now or trusting the now is about, letting go of the mental narration and just being present. And allowing the presence to help us connect the dots. In the relative sense, when you are being part of the world, or just anchoring in that presence. And that is freedom from the mind. So, to be present in the now, or just anchor in that true presence, and not to get affected by all the past and the imaginative future, is by investigating the root cause of the suffering. And to figure out the root cause of the suffering, we need to look into our surface suffering first. Whatever is fluctuating us in the present is coming from the root. But to figure out the root, we need to accept the surface suffering, and we got to utilize that to figure out the root. The ingrained conditioning, the ingrained pattern in the person. So notice there are so many struggle, or so many friction we go through every day. We go through the struggle every day because we have to face the world. And the world also is a trigger point. The people are the trigger point to bring the suffering back on the surface, isn't it? Why? Because you have a certain preference, people have a certain preference. And when the preference is not matching, then there is a conflict. The conflict itself is the struggle on the outside, and that outer struggle brings the inner struggle. Why the struggle is there? Again, there's a different in preference, and that preference is what? Is our ingrained conditioning. We have a certain preference because of something. Something, has worked in the past, and we are holding on to that preference, holding on to that belief, not realizing that, things change. There's always upgrades to next level in a relative sense. We have forgotten that the outer world is a world of changing. It's a shifting world. And when the world is changing, we are trying to hold on to something as true. And when we are trying to hold on to something that is not true, itself is a fight, inner fight as well as the outer fight. And all this fight is basically makes us lose the now. We forget, we don't know how to anchor in the now, we don't know how to use the now. And that's why the struggle continues, isn't it? Ask yourself this question: do I know how to be in the now? And if you sit with it, if you're thinking to answer this question, that means you don't know. You think you know, but deep down, the reality is you don't know how to be in the now. Right now, you're trying to anchor in the now is coming from the place of control. And controlling is not the way to be in the now. Especially when the issues are not resolved, and controlling yourself to be part of the now doesn't work. It's too much effort. Being in the now is an effortless path. To anchor in that presence of now is effortless. To get to this, we have to investigate on why do I have a hard time being, anchored in this present called the now. Again, it comes down to, your habits, your conditioned to certain habits, conditioned to certain patterns. You have a lot of, ingrained patterns in you, isn't it? That you picked up every day. You repeat that pattern. You don't even know sometimes you're picking up the pattern. You have become so automatic that it's it has become the second nature. When something has turned into second nature, struggle is inevitable. But good thing is that there is a struggle. When the struggle is there, then we can use the struggle to see the pattern, see the conditioning, see our preference. And all of those are simply the ego self in oneself. Everything that is ingrained in us and making us move from that is the ego self. Especially when we are moving from certain way of life and we see that as true, then the ego is, big time present. ego has made the false reality as true. And that is the root of all struggle. Definitely the ego is giving you the fun times as well. Even that fun times has that the hidden layer, which is the fear of losing the fun. There's a struggle hidden under the fun. So the ego move is always present. Why the ego move is there? Because again, the lack of investigation on the root cause of our struggle, the root cause of our suffering, the root cause of our fear. So, because of that, we have a hard time living in the now, to anchor in that presence. Now, how do we, anchor in that present? How do I trust the now? And again, in the first place, the reason to anchor in the now and trust the present is because that's the reference, isn't it? This true spiritual reference. Anchor in the now. Trust the now is a way to, connect the dots and live life with ease, without the inner conflict and fear. That's the message. So the reference is there. You're trying to be in the now, but you're failing to anchor in the now, and you're having a hard time to trust the now because of the unresolved root of the suffering. Now, you see you're not able to anchor in the now, to enjoy the now, but you're trying. Now, the process can be started by looking into our suffering, looking into our conflict that we are facing every day. That would be the start. Whatever suffering you are experiencing, whatever fear you see in your life day to day, whatever limitation comes in, utilize that. Don't deny the surface issue, surface conflict. They are the start of the journey. They are the fire starter to take us all the way back to the root. You don't have to look for the big stuff for the spiritual practice. You can use your simple surface friction to figure out the root. So trace your surface friction backward to figure out the root. So simple way to trace back is ask yourself, why am I experiencing this conflict? Why am I experiencing this fear? Why? The why is the start to go backward. And if you ask why, there's always an answer when you ask why. And no matter what answer resurface in your mind, use that answer to go further inward and backward by asking, why do I associate it with it? Associate with this answer. Why this answer is important. So this is the way to figure out the next answer, and this is the way to move backward. This is the example of dismantling the mind or subtracting the mind, and you'll figure out the root. When you figure out the root, now the real start. The surface is just creating a dent. Now, when you figure out the root cause of your suffering, and you're still moving from your roots, your life is still happening from this root conditioning. And you have to ask yourself, why do I maintain this root? Why am I moving from this root? You already see your suffering is coming from the root, but your life is still happening from this root because of the conditioning. Now, why you are attached to this conditioning, why you are attached to this root, the why is going to reveal further answer because of, example is comfort, safety, security, because of the familiarity. Unknown is even more scary. So having something familiar, comfortable, ego likes it because that doesn't threaten the ego self. That doesn't threaten you. So you're even though life is struggle, fear, conflict, pain, life's still happening from this root. Why? Because there's a sense of ease as a false ease. So once you see the root cause of the suffering, then you gotta dismantle the root in the same way, asking why am I prolonging this, conditioning, this root, this pattern, this belief. And that's the way to figure out the plain sight truth, the inner truth. The only way to, make yourself free from the fear, free from the mind, free from the struggle is dismantling the root until there's nothing more is left. Nothing is left. And that itself is no mind. So that's the process, okay? So again, the reason you're not able to anchor in the now, or you don't trust the now, you want to trust, but you're not able to trust the now, is because of your ingrained belief in you, the conditioning, the habits, the pattern in you. They always resurface and they always make you move from that. And that's why we are prolonging the suffering. That itself can be also seen as self-implemented prison. So to get out of the prison, you must work on yourself. Don't deny the struggle. Look into your struggle and allow your surface struggle to, help you make the inward path. Okay? I hope this video makes sense to some extent. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for watching this video. See you in the next video. Take care for now. Bye.